When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
All right, so you're ready to wade into the waters of job offer negotiations, huh?
Yeah.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive on some strategies with Professor Deepak Malhotra. He's a seriously sharp guy over at Harvard Business School, and he has got some seriously smart advice on landing a job offer that isn't just good, but like amazing.
Yeah, and you know what I like about Malhotra is how he explains it all in a way that, like, just clicks. Like, he's got this equation for getting what you want, likability plus justification plus their ability to give.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. But
Yeah.
honestly, sometimes just proving you're even qualified for the job can feel like a full-time job in itself.
Oh, totally. And that's exactly why you can't forget about that likability part of the equation. Like,
Yeah.
it's not enough to just show up and rattle off every single one of your accomplishments. Like, you're trying to win a medal, right? You've got to show them who you are, why you're passionate about this, and how you'd be someone they actually want to work with day in and day out.
Yeah, it's like that saying people would rather work with someone they'd want to grab coffee with, you know, not just someone who throws a resume at them and demands a raise.
100%. And this is where I think a lot of people stumble. Malhotra really drives home this point that a lot of the heavy lifting happens before you even get to the negotiation.
So it's not just about being ready to bargain. It's about all the groundwork you lay beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that look like practically?
Research, my friend, research. We're lucky enough to be living in a time where information is everywhere. So before you even think about negotiating salary or anything like that, do your homework. Dig deep into the company on LinkedIn, see who's connected to who. Maybe even reach out to a few people who currently work there or used to work there and get their take on things.
So you're talking about getting a feel for the company culture. Like, are they super strict on salary, or are they more open to negotiating perks and stuff like that?
Exactly. And don't even get me started on informational interviews. Those can be gold mines. You can get a sense of the hiring manager's style. Are they really data-driven? Do they care more about team fit than anything else? Knowing this stuff can give you a serious leg up when you're actually sitting at the table.
It's like in a game when you can sort of anticipate your opponent's next move because you've done your research.
Now you're getting it. And speaking of strategy, one of the biggest takeaways I got from Malhotra was this idea of figuring out the why behind the questions you get asked. Especially the tough ones.
You mean like the classic, do you have any other offers question? Talk about a curveball.
Right. It feels like a trap, doesn't it? But here's the thing. 9 times out of 10, they're not actually trying to back you into a corner. They're really just trying to figure out what your market value is and how serious you are about their offer.
That makes a lot of sense when you think about it from their perspective. They need that information to make an informed decision too. So how do you answer that gracefully without feeling like you have to overshare or give away your leverage?
Okay, so this is where it gets really good. Malhotra calls this negotiation judo, using their moves to your advantage.
Ooh, I like that. Negotiation judo. Okay, tell me more.
So instead of panicking and feeling like you have to spill all the beans about other offers or salary expectations, just take a breath. And think about what they're really asking. Are they worried about losing you to a competitor? Do they have a really tight deadline to fill the position? Or are they genuinely curious about your career aspirations?
So it's about listening carefully, reading between the lines, and understanding their motivations before you react. Like, instead of immediately trying to block their move, you pause for a second and think, how can I use this to my advantage?
Exactly. And sometimes the best move is actually no move at all.
Wait, really? You mean like say nothing?
Well, not silent exactly, but think about it this way. Let's say they come back with an ultimatum, something like a non-negotiable salary or a start date that's set in stone. Your gut instinct might be to come back swinging, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Especially if you feel like they're trying to lowball you. It feels like a challenge.
Totally. But Malhotra has this totally counterintuitive approach that I think is kind of genius. He says, just ignore the ultimatum.
Ignore it. Really? That's wild. Why would you do that?
Well, because if you fire back right away, you're kind of forcing them to either dig in their heels or back down and look weak. And that just creates all this unnecessary tension.
I see. It's like letting the air out of a balloon slowly.
Yeah.
If you just leave it alone, it'll deflate on its own. But if you keep poking at it.
Exactly. By not directly engaging with their ultimatum, you're giving them space to adjust their stance later on without feeling like they lost face. And nobody wants to feel stuck in a corner, especially in a professional setting.
That makes sense. So it's about taking that step back, not getting caught up in the heat of the moment, and then figuring out how you want to play it.
Exactly. And remember, this is key. Negotiation is rarely ever a one-and-done thing. It's an ongoing conversation. Things can evolve and shift throughout the process. What might have seemed like a deal breaker at the beginning could become less important as you learn more about the role or the company.
It's all about staying flexible, right? Which reminds me of another point Malhotra made that really resonated with me. It's not always just about the salary.
Oh, absolutely not. He's all about thinking beyond the paycheck and looking at the whole picture, all those other currencies that can make a huge difference in your overall job satisfaction.
So besides trying to squeeze out a slightly higher starting salary,
Yeah.
what are some other things people should be thinking about?
Oh, man, where do I even start? You've got signing bonuses, equity options, especially those with a faster vesting schedule, professional development stipend, maybe even the flexibility to work remotely a couple days a week.
Yeah, that work-life balance can be huge for people.
Right. And a lot of times these perks are actually easier for companies to agree to than a straight-up salary increase, especially if they're trying to stick to a tight budget.
So it's about getting a little creative and figuring out what's actually valuable to you, which might not even be something that directly translates to money.
Now you're talking. It could be something like having a mentorship program set up with someone more senior in the company, or negotiating for a clear path to a promotion within a certain time frame.
Oh, and even like the timing of your performance reviews,
Yeah,
that could have a huge impact down the line.
absolutely. It's about aligning your compensation with your long-term goals, not just your immediate needs. And this actually brings me to what I think is probably Malhotra's most important point. You have to choose the right job, because at the end of the day, that matters more than any single negotiation.
That's so true. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of an offer, but you're right, if the job itself isn't a good fit, no amount of negotiation is going to change that.
It's like trying to shove a square peg into a round hole. It's just not going to work long-term.
So before you even get to the offer stage, how can you be sure you're setting yourself up for success? How do you know if you're aiming for the right job in the first place?
That's where some serious self-reflection comes in. What are your non-negotiables in a job? What are your values? What kind of work genuinely excites you? And what kind of environment lets you do your best work? Those are the million-dollar questions.
Those are the big picture questions, right?
Right.
It's easy to get so bogged down in the day-to-day grind of the job search, but it's crucial to take a step back and think about where you really want to be 5-10 years down the line.
Exactly. Because honestly, how you negotiate this one job offer, it's tiny compared to the trajectory of your whole career. Malhotra uses this analogy. Nobody really sees themselves as part of the crowd, right? But if you're not careful, you can get swept up in the current and end up somewhere you never intended to go.
It's like you can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails, right?
100%. And those early decisions you make in your career, the jobs you say yes to, the skills you decide to focus on, the people you choose to surround yourself with, those are the things that really set your course in the long run.
So don't just settle for any old ship. Make sure you're sailing on the right one.
Exactly. Even if it means taking a little more time to get there.
Man, this has been eye-opening. I feel like we tend to make negotiations way more complicated than they need to be.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing from Malhotra is that it's really about getting back to basics. Be yourself, do your homework, know what you're worth, and most importantly, have a clear vision for what you want in the long run.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
And Malhotra throws in this other little nugget of wisdom that I just love. He challenges us to shoot for an 11 out of 10 in our negotiations.
An 11 out of 10. Okay, now you have to explain that one.
Okay, so it's like this. It's about going above and beyond just getting what you want out of the deal. It's about finding ways to make the other side genuinely pumped to work with you. Leave them feeling like they got an amazing deal too.
It's a win-win.
Exactly. Think about what you bring to the table that nobody else does. What are your superpowers?
I like that, superpowers.
Right. Maybe you're a master networker, a creative genius at solving problems, or maybe you're just insanely passionate about the company's mission. Whatever it is, don't be afraid to let that shine through.
So as you gear up for your next big job offer negotiation, remember, it doesn't have to be this cutthroat battle. It's about coming to the table with confidence, knowing your worth, and having that genuine desire to create something awesome both for yourself and for the company.
Well said. And who knows, you might just walk away with an 11 out of 10.
Now, that's a mic drop moment if I ever heard one. This has been a fantastic deep dive. I feel a million times more prepared to tackle my next negotiation with confidence. Thanks so much for breaking this all down with me.
Anytime, go get 'em.